Hey booktubers, Lisa here. Today we're going to be talking about The Catcher in the Rye by JD Salinger. Shall we make a start? This book is one of the most frustrating books that I think I've ever read. It is the best book, and it is also the worst book that I think I've read. So I have a lot of conflicting feelings about this one, and I'm definitely gonna go on 2 miniature rants, so please bear with me. So I would overall give this a 3-star rating. I'm just gonna get that out there right at the front because I have so many conflicting feelings about this book. But just to give us a little bit of organization, we'll talk about the things that I did not particularly enjoy about this book. So this book, it focuses on the main character. His name's Holden Caulfield. He's, I think, 16 or 17 years old. He is a rich kid that was from prep. He's from prep school. He gets kicked out. He's failing most of his classes. He's a smart guy. He just doesn't want to do the assignments. They're beneath him. They're not interesting. He doesn't care. He's just not doing them. So he's had every single opportunity in the world given to him, and he's just blown it. He doesn't care. He is extremely self-centered. Frequently throughout the book, he'll wake anybody up in the middle of the night for really no reason at all. The language that he uses, there's so much swearing in this book. Some commentators have said the book would be half its length if they just cut out the swearing. In fact, I have the audiobook of this, and I was following along, and my husband said, "Lisa, what are you reading?" You know, and I said, "I'm reading classic literature." So there's that. The language that, and I know the author's using it to kind of show the immaturity of the character, so, you know, okay, it's neither here nor there in my opinion. The other thing, the author, or the character, he talks a lot in extremes. There's nothing normal or average. I don't think he's ever met a normal or average person. The person's either lousy, or they're so wonderful, they're terrific, they're a great dancer, they're, you know, horrible, or they're great, or they're amazing, or he was waiting for 10 years when it only took 5 minutes. There's a lot of this like extreme language. As far as the book goes, it's not plot driven, so you don't really even know where the book is heading, because it's like in Harry Potter where, you know, it's very clear you're leading up to this showdown between good and evil, and you're going to have this epic battle with Voldemort. Like, you know, it's all building up to this point. There's like so much action. This book is not like that at all. This book is very character driven. It's centered around this Holden Caulfield. Sometimes he does things that are interesting. Sometimes he does things that are not very interesting. So it's kind of like, you know, sometimes it wasn't the most engaging page-turning book that I've ever read. It isn't. It definitely is not my favorite book out there. But transitioning to what I really did like about this book, there were these are what I would classify as like my rants or tangents or whatever, which you can feel free to disagree with me. I think it's important to have respectful dialogue. We don't have to agree, that's okay. You know, drop me a comment below, and I would be more than happy to hear your thoughts on The Catcher in the Rye. But the first thought that really came up for me, at least, when I was reading this, Holden is amazing in English, amazing. That's the only, he makes sure that whenever he talks to somebody, he says, "Hey, I passed English." And he speaks with such passion. When he's talking to these nuns, he's talking about all the different books that he read, and they even interrupt him with other questions. He's still going. He distinctly remembers all of these books. He loved it. And he gets, you know, kicked out, and his roommate even says, "Hey, can you write an essay for me? Because, you know, I have this assignment and I don't have time. Can you do it for me? The professor just thinks that you are the greatest thing in the world in English." So Holden definitely has a passion and a skill, and he is One of the things he does do, which is just, the introvert in me is just like paralyzed with fear, how many times he chats people up in this book. He'll talk to anybody and everybody. I mean, it was just unbelievable. He talks to his roommate. He talks to this other guy that like nobody else likes in the prep school, the annoying guy. He comes over and he talks to him. He talks to this other guy. He is on the train talking to somebody who's sitting next to him. He calls people up that don't even know who he is. He just has their phone number and he calls them up. You know, he goes to the bar and he strikes up conversations with people, again, he doesn't even know while he's there. He's striking up conversations. A couple of nuns walk into a restaurant. He strikes up conversations with them. These are incredible, incredible, incredible skills. And for me, I look back and I think of, well, I was the product of a well-balanced education and I didn't really appreciate it. The educational system is very quick to cross somebody off the list if they don't conform to a well-balanced education. Why did they kick him out? Because he was failing the other subjects. Why do you have to be amazing in the other subjects? Can't he just be good in reading and writing? Aren't these good skills to have and soft skills? I mean, he can present well if he wants to. And when you read a book, you don't want to read the same authors, the same story over and over and over and over. You want authors that have different life experiences, different educations, not a carbon copy, you know, of every single person that comes out of the university. And I think back to my own education where when I went in, I was reading a lot. It was very common for me to write 10, even all the way up to 35-page papers. And my first trimester in college, I would say that my writing was at an all-time high. My vocabulary was spectacular. If you read my papers, you would think, wow, this is a scholar. When it became clear that this private university was not at all going to help me financially, I had to transfer to community college and then ultimately the state uni. But you know, when you're sitting in a class with 250 other students, you're not able to write papers and get, you know, critical feedback. You're just doing the Scantrons. There were classes that I attended twice and I got a 4.0. So by the time I left the university, I felt that and I said at the time, and I'll still say it, my writing skills had atrophied. They were not nearly as good as when I entered college. And I think that does such a disservice to people that they force everybody to take these classes that they don't need. You know, my major was not a science major, but I took biology and astronomy and humanities and algebra, and I didn't need that stuff. I would have been better suited had I said, I'm going to focus more instead of taking these meaningless classes that I don't ever use, and stick to my guns and, you know, devote my time to reading and writing. So I kind of agree, the Catcher in the Rye, it brought up that topic, and I do think back, how many unique flowers has the educational system crushed just because they weren't like the other unique flowers out there? So that was the first really like big topic that kind of was brought up in the Catcher in the Rye. The second one is Holden Caulfield. People have really touted this book as a coming of age book. I didn't see it as a coming of age book. I saw it as somebody who desperately, desperately, desperately needed grief counseling. In the book, he talks about how his brother, Allie, died from leukemia. And he smashed all the windows out in the garage with his fist, and he can't make a fist anymore. And he, you know, the essay that he wrote for his roommate was this baseball mitt, and it had all this poetry that his late brother had in there. And every time he seems really alone, he always goes back to, you know, what happened with his brother. And if you told somebody, well, write a book about a guy who lost his brother and is not adjusting well, but don't write, this book is about grief and not handling it well, it would be this book. It really would. I mean, the author didn't write, this guy is not adjusting well to the loss of his brother, but that is what happened. And it's really frustrating because this gentleman Nobody helps him. He's been to 3 or 4 prep schools. He's been kicked out because he didn't meet their, guidelines. And then, he meets up with some guy at the bar and he says, oh, you should go to counseling, but for girls. Like, no. And then he meets up with one of his former teachers, and then instead of that teacher helping him, the teacher ends up assaulting him in a creepy manner, like late at night, and his parents don't even know he's like missing for 3 days. They are out to lunch. They're not getting him help. They know he's been kicked out, multiple times, but they're not helping him. And a lot of the things that he talks about in the book, you can tell are really like grief driven, where when you lose somebody that you really, really love, your world stops. There's a before this person died and there's an after. Like, the world will not be the same. When you lose somebody, it's a loss. It's a deep loss. And you look around and you think, how are you going to work? How is the world still spinning? Why is this going on? My world stopped, but you guys act like everything's okay. And Holden talks about this. He's like, everybody's a phony. People are phonies. They're fake. So I get that. And he talks about going to the museum and how you can rely on everything's going to be the same. And he talks about the kids that, they're in this rye field and he wants to catch them before they go off the cliff. And I don't necessarily think it is into adulthood, which most people think that's what it means. I think it's that he doesn't want to go into that post world where the before and the after. He doesn't want to move on. He doesn't want to go and start his life, again. And he talks about other people and, well, they're not over it. And if you're watching this YouTube video and you have lost somebody that you really love, I strongly recommend getting some help, going to grief counseling. It doesn't mean that you have to go 4 times a week for the rest of your life. Maybe just going once a week for 4 weeks would really help you process the loss. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be over somebody. You're never gonna get over something, but it may help you process, adjust to the loss a little bit better, so that it doesn't spiral like Holden Caulfield where his whole life is in jeopardy. They even talk about how his father was thinking that he's gonna go to Yale. He's been kicked out of 3 or 4 prep schools. He's not going to Yale. His father is completely, disconnected from reality. So don't let that be you. Reach out. There will not be, quote, phonies there. If you don't have private insurance, there are churches, they call it Grief Share, where they will be open and there will be other people there who have experienced a loss and who will know what you're going through. So please reach out. Don't let it get to Holden Caulfield level before reaching out and saying, I am struggling here and I need somebody to walk with me for a little bit. If you enjoy honest book reviews, please subscribe to my channel. These are my somewhat unique thoughts on Catcher in the Rye. Till next time, everyone, I'm Lisa of Troy. Peace.